And a swing and a drive. High and deep into left field and way back and gone. Oh, my goodness. Off the stick of Whitney into the glass. Scooped up by Hemsky, and he's hammered. And it's caught. It's caught.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of The Wrap Up. I'm your host, Nick Buckler. With me as always, Dan Myers. Dan, we're going to jump right into it yet again with the Detroit Tigers. They had a better week this week, coming off of a victory, 2 out of 3 against Chicago, 2 out of 3 in Cleveland. That's a 4-2 week, and if you can win 4 every week, that's solid, especially for the way the team's been playing lately. We're going to pick them up on Monday at Progressive Field in Cleveland, where they skate to an 8-5 win. And Yoenis Cespedes goes 3 for 3 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Kyle Ryan goes 3 2/3. He gives up 3 runs, but Blaine Hardy comes in and pitches 2 1/3 perfect baseball and ends up getting the win in that game.
Yeah, it was a solid win for the boys, you know, especially being on the road. So hopefully they can keep that momentum going.
They did. Tuesday, Jacobs Field, or that's what it used to be called, Progressive Field in Cleveland. 7-3 win behind David Price's 6 2/3 of 1 earned run and 7 strikeouts. And Andrew Romine continues to flex his muscles. He gets another home run in that, picking up right where he left off in New York, where he was slugging the ball like crazy. He had a double on Monday night as well. And as far as I'm concerned, you keep playing him at third base over the struggling Castellanos, because right now Romine's playing good baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you can just find that perfect connection that fits and gets everyone going on track, projects like that will happen. Streaks, like winning streaks like that, will begin to show up.
I'm not sure Romine's the permanent fix, but I think for right now, you play him while he's hot, because he's hitting around 300 right now, and he's not going to do that over the course of a season, as we've seen in the past. He struggled to hit 200, but this year, it's just kind of a third base by committee if you want to maybe send Castellanos down, because he's been not the best right now, and Dixon Machado's playing really well in AAA Toledo, and he's great in the field. And he's starting to swing his bat a little bit better than he did when we saw him in the Oakland series about a month ago. I don't know. I think Romine can platoon with whoever there and just keep him in. I think Ausmus has to do a good job of kind of rotating his guys in where they're not getting burned out. Next thing you know, they go to an 0 for 18 slump like we've seen from Castellanos. He can run into one. He can run into one. He'll be fine. That's why his average is down to 219 when it was a few weeks ago 242. So that just goes to show that he's not an everyday player, at least this point in his career. Yeah,
correct. And at this point of the season, you have to really start getting, forging out your regular lineup. I mean, it's getting too late. We're in July in a couple of days, and we got to get that going. We got to get this lineup established. We got to get these guys going that are strong, and hopefully we can put something together. But I feel like time is just against us right now, and the longer we go without having a sturdy lineup, it's going to hurt us.
It really is. And on to Wednesday at Progressive Field in Cleveland, Buck Farmer has the start for Justin Verlander, who was a late scratch due to a little bit of stiffness in his back. That came out on Tuesday night after the game. They released that. So Buck Farmer's called up, and he's going to make the start. He goes 5 1/3, strikes out 7. However, he does give up 5 earned runs. But through 3 innings, it was a Buck Farmer we haven't seen at this point in his pro career. In AAA this year, he was doing really well. He got called up here, struggled a bit, and the first 3 innings was maybe a good sign, but he couldn't quite put together a complete start as he ends up getting rocked around for 5 earned runs. But JD Martinez, he's been swinging a hot bat. He hits a home run late in that game, but turns out to not be enough as they drop it 8-2.
Yeah, unfortunately, stuff like that happens. But maybe we should keep Buck Farmer up here for a while, send Justin down to the minors. Maybe get him to appreciate his position more, get him healthy. We can't afford to lose more games that we don't need to with a shaky pitching situation. So definitely, make some decisions on that part, and hopefully we can get that going.
A reason why I don't think they'll send him down is because of the money issue. I mean, he's getting paid top dollar. He's the highest paid pitcher on the staff right now. But a reason why I think he might have kind of had this hiccup in his injury was possibly his second start. Ausmus leaves him out there for 117 pitches, which at that point, when you're coming off of an injury where you haven't pitched in a year, to go out that long. They needed to ease him back into it, maybe 70 pitches his first time out, maybe up to 85 and 90 pitches the second time, especially for at a point in the game where he was struggling a little bit with his command, getting rocked around. They were hitting the ball hard. I don't know if that was the time for him to go long, because he's capable to throw 130 pitches in any given start, but not yet in this point where they're just trying to get him back from injury.
Yeah, and that's true. But on another hand, I would like to see him be able to come back and pitch full games. Not full games per se, but longer than that. Just hurrying and rushing him back is going to do the organization no good. So if we can just figure out a situation where we'll bring you back when you're healthy, you're feeling 100%. Granted, you'll never really feel 100%, but as close as you can to. And if you can do that, I think that's the better way to go, rather than just rushing him back to the mound because he's our highest paid pitcher. I mean, we take our time with him, we're going to get our money out of him. But like you said, we do need a strong pitcher right now, and if we could pull Justin Verlander back, so it's kind of a teeter-totter effect, double-edged sword. What can you do?
I guess we'll see on Tuesday. He's going to go against Pittsburgh in that game. So he said he felt good. He threw a bullpen session on Saturday, and he said he felt good, no pain at all, no stiffness in his back. So it's only a matter of time before we start to see the healthy Justin Verlander back, that good fastball with life on it, that really good slider that he's recently started to throw in the last couple seasons, along with that slow curveball that he's had since 2006 when he came into the league, that no-hit the Brewers and no-hit the Blue Jays. Yeah. So that's good to see. Tigers come home, though, for what was supposed to be a 4-game set against the White Sox. Thursday afternoon, they drop a heartbreaker in 10 innings, 8-7. Jabba Chamberlain gets rocked around a little bit in the 10th inning, gives up 3 runs on 2 hits in just 1 inning pitched. And they drop it 8-7, but Kinsler gets back into the home run category, which we haven't seen in a while. And then JD, his second consecutive game with a home run as well.
Yeah, it's solid. I mean, where did he come from? This is just amazing. I love watching the guy. It's almost like Miggy. Every time he comes up to bat, you're just excited to see what he's going to produce. So, yeah, keep it going, buddy. Keep it going.
His average has jumped 20 points from around 240 to 250 all the way up to now into the 270s, so that's good to see. He's swinging the bat with a lot of confidence now, and he continued that into Friday, where he hit another home run, along with Rajai Davis, who that's good to see, his second home run of the season. And they get the win 5-4 in that game. Behind Bruce Rondon comes back, gets the win, and that's real good to see. He had 2 outings in a row, rather, where he's looked absolutely good, hasn't given up a hit or a walk, and he struck out 3 in those two outings.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get a stronger Bruce Rondon back with us too. We'll see. If he can keep it going. I mean, that just might be the start that the Tigers are looking for, that extra nudge to get some winning streaks going.
Joakim Soria also gets his 17th save of the season in that game Friday. That's good to see, to get him to have a shutdown inning, one that he hasn't really had in a while, where he's given up hits, runs in 4 of his last 5 outings, and that's good to see him shut the door and get the save in that game. Saturday's game got rained out as there was a nasty cell all over the area in the Midwest and Northeast, really. There was a lot of rainouts on Saturday, 4 to be exact. One game got suspended in the 6th inning, the Mets game. And there's a lot of doubleheaders on Sunday. However, the Tigers will make that game up September 21st. It's a Monday. Late in the year, it could be a division showdown late if the White Sox right the ship a little bit, or Tigers could be playing to get in at that point. It'll be a Monday day-night doubleheader against the Sox to make up that rainout on Saturday. Sunday, though, 5-4 win on James McCann's walk-off home run. Kid's hit 3 home runs in his career. One was an inside-the-park home run, and then 2 walk-off home runs. That's great to see. Kid from Arkansas University coming around. Young, Southern boy, just ripping the ball in clutch times, and that's real good to see for the Tigers, especially with Avila on the shelf for a while, to see production out of that catching spot where he's earned a nickname, James McCannon, because he's just throwing guys out left and right. And Victor, in the 8th inning, after the Tigers were struggling all game for offense, they only had 2 hits going into the 8th inning, and Victor Martinez, with bases loaded, rips a double to the gap in right center. And it was great to see because he cleared the bases, made the game 4-4 at that point, tied it up, and then we all know what happened in the bottom of the 9th inning. James McCann hits a walk-off home run. Real good to see.
Yeah, that was huge. Like you, I'm sure I'm really excited about James McCann. If we get him, as our regular catcher, and just have Avila come in and relieve him, when he needs it, that's great. And to see a guy like that pull off that winning hit was awesome. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, really. It's exciting to watch now. The Tigers, they could be back. I'm not sold that they're playing consistent enough baseball to be back, but at this point in June, they're starting to string together series wins at least, and that's a 667 win percentage no matter what when you're taking 2 out of 3. So if they can continue that, they got a tough interleague series coming up this coming week against Pittsburgh, and then Toronto, who has a real potent offense this season with Jose Bautista, Edwin Encarnacion, Devin Travis, who is a former Tiger prospect, the second baseman. He's been dinged up due to injury, but if they get him back, Toronto could be a team to look out for in the American League.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely.
Good pitching as well. Hutchinson, Mark Burley's not there anymore, but they really do have good starters. However, they just lost their closer, Brent Cecil. They didn't lose him. They yanked him from the spot because he was struggling. So they shore up the back end of that bullpen. They could be a contender in the American League East over Baltimore and New York. So you never know. It's going to be a tough homestand coming up here for the Tigers this week, but it depends how they look after that going into the All-Star break. They're in striking distance of the Kansas City Royals and Minnesota Twins in the American League Central. Mm-hmm. Do you think they will win the division?
Right now, no, I really don't. I don't feel like there's any. There's not too much respect on the part of the manager. I feel that there's some respect there, but the fear's not there.
I'm going to butt in just for a second.
Okay.
On what I agree with you 100%. But what I do agree, I think they like him more as a friend. Mm-hmm. And they don't, like you said, the fear factor isn't there. Great show, by the way, Joe Rogan. No, but they don't fear him. And like Jim Leyland, he wasn't their friend. Like we've talked about before, going back to the Red Wings of the 90s, Scotty Bowman. Players hated him, but they loved playing for him because he got the best out of every player. He's not going to the bar with the guys after the game. He's not hanging out with them. I feel like Ausmus is a guy who, when they're in Florida, he's going to go, we're going to go to the beach, Hello, ladies, Brad Ausmus here. Like, no. There needs to be the fear factor. I'll let you finish now, but I just wanted to butt in and agree with you quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you're not going to get that. I mean, I think as of Sunday last week, that instance with the miscommunication with David Price walking off the mound and going straight to the locker room, and then Ausmus sending JV to go pick him up. Oh, I didn't hear that. I think that's going to be a real issue come August when we're going to look back at that instance and be like, we should have known by then. Hopefully that's not the case, but when was the last time you remember a pitcher not knowing whether they're going to pitch or not? Like, that's just unheard of. I can't remember any instances like that. So hopefully they can put something together. But I just feel, if you want to have a successful team like they did in San Francisco with Bochy or Joe Girardi of the Yankees when they were winning, or even Terry Francona when he was with Boston, they liked him as a coach, but I feel that there's a big sense of fear that you didn't want to let him down. Even when we were making those runs with Skip before Ausmus, if we can get that fear, it's not there. And it's more, you know what, I'm going to show up, I'll do whatever. If I don't, no big deal. I'm not going to worry about the repercussions.
And when the Tigers aren't winning, I notice the guys are still having a good time when on winning teams like the Yankees of the 90s and the Diamondbacks of the early 2000s, even the Red Sox and the Cardinals under Tony La Russa. I feel like those teams, when they were losing, they were angry. Now, I feel like they don't feel like they're out of any game because of the offense they have potential to be with Cabrera, the Martinez twins, and, Cespedes, Kinsler even has proven. It's just they're not out of games ever, but there still needs to be that sense of urgency that I feel like the team lacks when at the same time, I don't know, I'm kind of mind-boggled by it that I feel like if they continue to play 500 ball, Dombrowski needs to make a statement, remove someone of their duties to show they're not messing around.
Yep. And with that whole Price situation, who's to blame? Is it David Price? Does he not want to be here anymore? Do you get rid of him? They've made multiple attempts to renegotiate his contract. Or do you go and make a bigger statement by getting rid of Brad Ausmus? I think both are to blame here, and you really got to acknowledge this before it starts biting you in the butt, because this could be really bad for the organization. We'll see.
2 pending free agents at the end of the year. One of them, obviously, David Price. Another one, Yoenis Cespedes. Do they want to be here? Do either one of them re-sign? Do both of them re-sign? What do you think?
I really can't see David Price coming back. I really don't. So if we hold on to Cespedes and then make some moves, but David Price to me from how I feel, I think he's gone. I don't think we'll see him in
I
Tigers
feel
uniform.
I feel like he does not want to be here, and it's a shame because I really think he's a good pitcher, and he's one of the league's best. It's always good to get a big left-handed pitcher like David Price, who's had Cy Youngs, had such success in the major league level. But I think Cespedes will return. I feel like there's a good camaraderie with him and Miggy and Victor and even JD, and all the Latin players on the team are so tight-knit, and I feel like that's what makes, at least in the Latin community, the Tigers are a huge attraction for the Latino players because of that camaraderie they have, and they have a great time on and off the field. If you follow Anibal Sanchez on Twitter and Instagram, he's always posting pictures of them all decked out, and they're dressed to the nines, looking good, having a good time after games, before games, during games. It's real good to see, at least from that standpoint, that there's good chemistry between the players. But David Price is a guy I hope he finds some chemistry and comes back, but I don't want him to be here if he doesn't want to be here, because that kind of puts down the team a little bit.
That's what doesn't bring championships to cities. I mean, like we've said before, that 97 Red Wings team, so tight. The 02 team, I mean, they were even tight.
Mm-hmm.
The 04 Pistons, when they won, that was that was incredible how close those two were. But on the other hand, I want to ask you this: is when you're in a slump like that, to me, this seems very foreign, and to see this exuberation via social media or just even the press. If you're Brett Ausmus, do you sort of be like, listen, we're not who we should be right now as far as a ranking, our wins and staff? Do you come down on them, or do you just let them be free?
To the point, I feel like both need to happen, but I feel like Ausmus just doesn't even talk to the guys at all. It's just kind of the feel I get when you look at his interviews. He's just so nonchalant, and they're professionals. They're going to get through their slumps. Everyone has slumps. We're just all in our slump at the same time. He's blowing it off, but if they continue to play 500 ball, it's going to be too late, and at trade deadline time, they're going to be sellers. And we haven't been a seller in Detroit since 2010? Yeah. And it's really frustrating, but I'm not saying they're at that point yet. But if it continues to be so nonchalant and blown off that they're losing games that they should be winning, it's going to be selling time come trade deadline. And the Tigers have always been a buyer, at least in the last 4 or 5 years, and that's something that they need to wake up. And if it means a change at the top, maybe give old Gino the scorecard and say, hey, let's relive the 80s when you were managing the Pirates. Gene Lamont, who knows? But enough of that. Let's talk about some upside in the city. This week, a big thing came out about the new District Detroit, the virtual, what it's going to look like down there, and that came out on Monday, and that was really exciting to see. I don't know if you saw it, but they showed virtual walkthrough of what it's going to be like inside the new arena for the Red Wings. And it's not just going to be the Red Wings arena. It's going to be a staple in downtown Detroit and eliminate a lot of open fields and abandoned buildings. And it's going to be 47 blocks long, the building, and there's going to be living in there, stores, open markets and stuff all inside the building. And there's going to be spots for fans in the lower level suites to be able to sit in there, drink your cocktail, eating your burger before the game, and see the players walk right through to go to the ice. Kind of like something you see in Toronto. I don't know if you watched the 24/7 a couple of years ago, but they had that where the fans are down there in the lower suite level, and the players are walking by to get to the ice. And that's an element that really brings fans closer to the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a nice attachment that you can get with the guy, with the players. I mean, they have that, I believe, in Dallas at Jerry World or whatever they call it. So yeah, that's a more recurring trend, and that's really cool. I mean, especially with a city that, we call ourselves Hockey Town, but let's face it, we're really not the biggest hockey town compared to some of those Canadian cities, which goes without saying. But we're sort of, we got to bring back that hockey community that we had early in the 97, 98 series. So, anytime you can attract non-hockey fans who are looking for a sports team to root for, that's awesome. And especially with that stadium, that's going to be really cool. I think it's going to be a real, like you said, it's going to be a real staple in the community. And it might even have the potential to just turn this whole depression going on downtown around. And maybe that's one of the points where we're going to look at, like, when Detroit turned around was when they opened up that new Wing Stadium. It wouldn't be the first time a sports team did that, so why not? Why not now?
And one thing about getting the Hockey Town element back is when you look at, if you're sitting at a game and you look around, you're seeing guys in suits on their cell phones during the game, and it's not everyone tied into the game, excited for hockey. I'm not saying those people aren't hockey fans, but it's almost like they're doing it because that's the thing to do. Yeah. And it's almost frustrating to see. It's almost like a social gathering rather than you're going there to see your favorite team, you're wearing the jersey of your favorite player, and you're down there drinking your $7 or $8 beer because you love the game. You're there because, oh, I'm taking clients to the game. They like hockey, so I got these tickets on StubHub. It's not the fans being there, so to speak. And I think to get Hockey Town back, there need to be more fans tied into the game, where I think at the new stadium it might be tough because I feel like ticket prices are going to go up. But to be honest, Red Wings tickets are very reasonable if you're trying to go. They always often offer student rush tickets, which you can sit in the upper deck for $15, lower level for $35 at some games, and that makes it real easy to go down. And I don't know, but student rush, those are some big fans that go because I don't know if you've been to playoff games in the past where it's loud in there, and that's where you see the fans come out. But during the regular season, they need just to get the element back. I mean, you're not going to outdo Toronto, you're not going to outdo Montreal. You're not going. Winnipeg was a huge one in this postseason. They haven't had playoffs since the early '90s. So those teams are just, they love hockey. There's millions of people in those cities. I'm not saying Detroit's not up there for Hockey Town. Of the U.S., hands down, no one's close. But there just needs to be more tie-in to the community coming together to be, and I think the District of Detroit will be perfect for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we have the following. I mean, I don't remember looking at the Tampa Bay series.
Florida, Arizona, even California, everywhere.
Yeah.
Even in Colorado last year, there was probably 60% Wings fans, and I would say almost they're like the Yankees, if you will, of the NHL.
Yeah.
The fans travel well, and they're everywhere. Transplants, just fans. When you're growing up, like look at all the Laker fans or the Cavalier fans around here. They were growing up, and those teams were good, so they jumped on their bandwagon. Same thing, 90s and early 2000s, the Wings were the best team around. They were a dynasty. They were the dynasty right before, if you would call Chicago a dynasty now. Chicago took over for Detroit, and before that, I don't know if it was, I don't even know. Was it the Rangers or the Islanders or Pittsburgh?
Yeah, it was a gumbo of different teams for a little while.
Yeah, it really was. But I think that's big.
Yeah.
It's just huge. And now that they're coming in, the draft was this past week, and I think they really got a good guy, a Russian forward, 6'2", 205 pounds, Evgeny Svechnikov from Russia. And the fact that he was still sitting there at 19, I'm glad they didn't trade this pick because now that I've done some research on him, at the time I was like, why aren't they trading? They have a lot. They're set up for a trade. But kind of watching his highlight reels and learning more about him, I really like this pick, and he could be NHL ready at some point this year, if not next year for sure. And I think that's good. Pavel Datsyuk, I'm sure, is real excited to finally get another Russian on the team. I know he tweeted out to Svechnikov right after the draft, and I'm excited for him. He could be the next guy for the Wings.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's one thing you never really have to doubt is the Red Wings GM and their draft system and the minor system. It's incredible. Like, considering all the talent that we've brought up in the past 5 years, I'm really not worried about it. Yeah, so that's exciting. I have plenty of faith in them. So they seem to show they know what they're doing.
100%. The Red Wings did not have a second-round pick. They had a third-round pick, and they addressed a need, a right-handed shot defenseman, Ville Sarjärvi from Finland. And he's only 5'9", came over to the States last year, played in the USHL for Green Bay. And he's undersized. I think he still needs a little bit more seasoning, but I think that'll come with time. I think he could be possibly moved in the next few years, but watching his interview was funny to me. He didn't know much at all about the Red Wings. They said, are you familiar with the Red Wings and what they've done? And his response was, well, I know Teemu Pulkkinen plays for them. So obviously he's not familiar with the tradition and the dominance of the league, but he just came to the States last year. His English still is pretty horrible. But look at Ichiro. He's been here, 20 years, still needs a translator. That's just ignorance to me, but that's a whole other can of worms. I do think it was a good pick, a depth pick for the Red Wings. Couple years of seasoning, and I think he could be right up there. he reminds me of a little bit the way he plays of a Brian Rafalski, undersized, right-handed shot, solid on D, skates, and he can put the puck in the net too. A big thing that just happened, Pavel Datsyuk underwent ankle surgery. They say he's going to be in a boot for 4 to 6 weeks. And first reports were he was going to be back in August doing hockey activities on the ice. Well, now it just came out that he could miss some time at the beginning of the year. So I'm not sure what to believe at first. Maybe did he have a little minor setback in the last few days, or he got a second opinion that said, hey, don't rush it back? Because by all means, I would much rather him miss the beginning of the year than when we're trying to make the playoffs at the end of the year or making a playoff run. So get healthy, Pavel. That's all I'm worried about right now. I think beginning of the year we'll be fine. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the best players in the world. Always up there for Lady Byng as well. He took home second place. Zetterberg won the King Clancy Memorial for leadership on and off the ice, but he was the only Red Wing taking home hardware at this past week's NHL Awards. But back to Datsyuk. I don't know. I'd rather him get healthy now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, we've got terrific talent coming in this year. So, take his time getting healthy. It should be rounding it off, the injury as the season starts. So, I don't want to go through another season of a hurt Pavel Datsyuk and us not being able to see the greatness that is Pavel Datsyuk. So get healthy, take your time as long as you need. We want you healthy for the season. We want you at 100%, so hurry up.
There's going to be a lot of young talent coming in. Dylan Larkin's one of them. I think he's going to make the team out of camp. Svechnikov could at some point be on this roster. Young guys, they re-signed Joachim Anderson to a one-year contract, $815,000. But I just think that there's a lot of young talent. Timu Pulkkinen, Anthony Mantha's right around the corner if he can right the ship a little bit, but we'll see. Free Agents Week is this week. What do you think the Red Wings need to address to complement those young players?
Well, like we were talking about earlier in the past couple episodes, it'd be nice if we could pick up some older talent, somebody that can just get them together. Phil Kessel, I'm not sure. DNF enough. I don't know if those guys, necessarily belong in this organization. I don't know if they're Red Wings quality caliber as far as their outside life of the rink and stuff like that, and their actions that they take. So we'll see. Let's just get some true talent in there. Maybe a veteran to show them the ropes and give Z some breaking time as far as being the veteran. So we'll see. I think it's really going to help having Chris Chelios be on the bench. So should we not be able to pick up a big high name caliber veteran? We got Chris Chelios behind the bench, and he's a great tutor and a great guy to have.
He won't exactly be on the bench. He'll be in the press box, but he is one of the coaches. He'd been working with the defense, who I think needs a lot of help this year. But I think Cronwall and Eriksson, they've been around. I think they'll right the ship a little bit. Kaiser and Quincy was a real good pair for us this year, which is weird to say. Kyle Quincy was in our best pair, but I mean, he's getting paid the big bucks, and he's going to have to turn it around sooner or later. I think Marek Zidlitsky would be a real good signing if they were to go that route. He showed to be good for us down the stretch. But a guy I like a lot who's rejected a few offers from Nashville was Mike Ribeiro. I think he could bring a lot to the table if we could sign him. A veteran forward who can score goals at the highest level, obviously. I think he'll be a real good signing. Look for maybe a trade. A guy like TJ Oshie's a guy who sticks out to me. I don't know what exactly St. Louis would want for him, but his name comes up in trades. Red Wings are still built for a trade. Yeah, the draft is not the trade deadline. The Wings are still built for a trade. They have cap room to spend. Maybe a guy like Stephen Weiss, some prospects, some guys they just drafted. Who knows, a goalie. But we still could go into camp with Howard and Mrazek both competing for the spot. And I think that's Mrazek's spot. I think Babcock decided so last playoffs. Blashill's known him better than Howard, and I think Mrazek deserves it. And at the same time, I feel like the team is better around him, and it's good to see. But they definitely need to add a veteran going forward, and I guess we'll see.
Yeah,
so
we'll see. Absolutely.
We appreciate you tuning in to another episode of The Wrap Up. For Dan Myers, I'm your host, Nick Buckler. Thanks for watching.